I'm gonna keep it real. We also have to look at the same way we can look at the way a woman carries herself and the way she acts. It does put out those predictive behaviors, just like we can look at the way Tyrese carries himself in his everyday life. That he probably did miss those signs because he was too busy whining and telling all his business, and probably, like we said, did not have a father figure to show him what to look for. One thing that my father taught me at a very young age was the different things to spot. Now, maybe
What
that
were
didn't
those things?
work for
That's
everybody,
what
but
are
I'm gonna
what are
keep
the
it real.
things that you can
That's
spot
part.
to know that she gonna
So different
change her?
things that you spot about a woman that always wants to be seen, that wants to be in the front, that wants to be noticed, can be a red flag. A lot of different things that if she is selfish, when she's only worried about herself and not worried about your well-being. Yes, absolutely. Those are things that you can always look at that could be potential red flags.
No, I
We can
mean
also
what I
Y'all
meant was
wilding.
No,
no.
no,
What I
let him
meant
go.
No,
was
Let
it's a
him go,
real
Darwin.
thing.
what
No,
I
no,
meant.
wait. Why are y'all stepping on law? Let him finish, Darwin. Let him.
all I'm
Let him
Well, I
saying
was
finish.
I
is
was
if we
asking a
gonna sit here
specific
and act
question. He
like
didn't
you,
answer.
it
Yeah,
what
but
was this,
but you
what
asked,
was
you interrupted to ask. He was still flowing before
Okay, go
you
ahead.
even
My
asked the
bad,
question.
brother. I asked when you're done.
All right.
no, but all I'm saying is we can't sit here and act like we don't notice red flags within women that lend to certain type of behaviors. And we said it in a lot of different things that Tyrese does. His father failed him, right, Hank? You know what I'm saying? He didn't teach him basically the basic things that he should know to stop running around here acting like a simp. That's what his problem is. He's running around here telling all his business, crying to everybody that'll listen. He probably wasn't paying attention when people were probably telling him to begin with that this might be a bad idea. And it didn't take him long for it to falter. You know what I'm saying? And that's why he's sitting up here getting took to the cleaners right now. That's how I see it. He wasn't taught well.
Go ahead, Darwin.
Or what really
Well,
happens, because I'm gonna keep it real, I'm gonna be vulnerable even with myself. I was taught certain things that I ignored because a woman was beautiful, had ass, fucked me right or whatever. And I said, man, I see all of these red flags. I'm gonna still go ahead and push through with this shit. And I pay for it in the long run. So a lot of men do that, and a lot of people do that. A lot of us see red flags and we ignore it. And then, after a while, you be like, damn, man, I should have seen this. I should have seen that, or I should have did that. But it's a lot to look at some red flags and be like, you know what? I'm gonna set this boundary. You ain't for me because I don't like how you move. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times we get caught up by shiny things or glittery things, that's not gold. You know what I'm saying? So it's like sometimes it really boils down to him. He probably like had some life lessons and probably was like, damn man, she do this, but she give me some fire ass head every day. Fuck it, I'm still fuck with her. You know what I'm saying? That could happen too.
Well, real quick.
I think.
So hold on, Trev. So as Trev and Darwin, I think, is alluding to, gentlemen. Well, one, she was none of that. Samantha Lee was none of that. Samantha Lee, like when you say things like, the ones that, because Darwin asked you specifically, what were some of the things that your father taught you, Law, that and you said, well, women that want attention, she didn't want none of that. Nobody knew who she was, and she didn't have no social media like that. She has it now. She's out there. She got a whole red pill page out there doing little clips. She was none of that back in the day. The women that have these predictive behaviors of wanting this and wanting that, and maybe wanting to live an exorbitant life. She was none of that. Cheap Forever 21 dresses and was just a basic. So the thing is, and I think this is what Trev was saying, some folk are Oscar award winners. Some people are so good at putting on a show, showing you a representative that you think that you can identify. Maybe I'm not saying that Marcus's $300,000 services won't work, but there's somebody that's going to be able to elude even Marcus. You can run a full dossier on somebody, and here's another thing. You can run a full dossier on somebody, and they will eventually inherently become completely different when that person is exposed to a different lifestyle that they never experienced before. They might really have been authentic until you put them into certain rooms and they start seeing shit and dealing with things and experiencing things that they've never seen before, and then they become somebody different. You guys got to remember, man, he had a prenup that worked. It was invalidated unfairly and illegally ruled upon. It wasn't that he wrote up a bad prenup. He had a rock solid prenup that an arbitrator said, I see the door open, but I'm going to say it's closed. And let's remember, you guys, the victim part. I get it. You know, let's forget the fact that Tyrese runs first place in the Victim Olympics. You know, let's forget the pity parties that he is always in. He's been inviting us to these pity parties, you know, $14,000 a month when he was crying years ago before COVID on the first baby mama. We know that he does that. I don't want sympathy for the messenger. I don't think he does either. But let's have a little sympathy for the message, gentlemen. And for that, I'm glad that he's vocal about all of this, because there are men out there that are living vicariously through the shit that he's going through, but they got to do it quietly because they have zero voice and they have nobody to talk to. There's men in middle America, in bumfuck Virginia, that is going through the same shit. And so when they see, now it's none of you, because you guys are solid, but there's other men out there, and this is why I kind of like fight for men, because I talk to these dudes and they don't have no voice. It's only men in the family is auntie, mama, grandmama, and sister, and then it's him all by himself. And men have got to stop telling men to just suck it up and drive on. When it comes to injustice on men, especially, I get it, man. Sometimes you out there crying because Tyrese didn't have his dad. He grew up with his mom, and his mom was out there hustling and trying to do the basic LA Compton watch shit that all the a lot of black women was doing, a lot of black niggas and black dads and just the black American family in America was doing out here in LA back in the 80s. But if you got somebody with a platform that's as large as his, that can say something that can probably give the small guy a little bit of hope, maybe put a little bit of battery in his back so he can go to court one more extra time than he would not have. Maybe he'll show up to court so a ruling won't go against him because he watched Tyrese argue and fight the night before, and that made him confident enough to go in and fight for his child. I'm all for it. And I want Tyrese to say it. I don't necessarily, I'm fine with him being loud. And lastly, fellas, and I'll wrap with this because I know JR probably wants to move on. Lord Sherm, you have mentioned it early. Just pay it if you got it and move on. No, so what if you got it? Just because you got, I know what you're equating it to, man. If you got $100,000 in the bank and somebody wants $1, what big deal? Here's $1. But if somebody takes you to court for your dollar and wants it unjustly, some people will pay $1,000 so you can't have one, just for the principle alone. I'm one of those
we
guys.
talking about child support, bro. What is unjustly about a celebrity paying $10,000 a month for a child?
I'll tell you why.
He just broke that down earlier.
Trust me, I can't. That's not really that much money.
No, I get it. I hear you. That's why you're saying. So you counting this pocket. You pocket watching. I get it. So here's what I'll say. Because the law says he's supposed to pay one number. The law says he's supposed to pay one number. A judge came in and said, "I don't like that number. I don't care what the law says. I'm the judge. I'm going to make you pay 3 times as much, just because I know you can." The thing is, and my father dealt with this. Just if I want to pay you $10,000, you got to understand something. He gave Samantha $10,000 a month allowance just as his wife. If the law says he's supposed to pay $2,400 and he feels like giving her $20,000, then let it be his prerogative. But don't make it don't rule against me just because you guys looked at my bank account and saying you got it, so pay it that way. That's
really how it is, bro. Like,
no, it's not.
I get what you're saying, but it's like, even if you with a woman and y'all together and you get a new job and you say, okay, I made $100, now I'm making $250. She gonna think of more shit to buy. She's gonna say, oh, well, now we can afford our kids going to this school. Now we can eat this type of food. Now we can drive this type of car. And as you move up in income, the better off your family will be.
I think you get my
his
point.
responsibility as
Actually,
a man.
I think
can I say something? Can I interrupt? Actually, with that type of logic, that's a recipe for a living paycheck to paycheck. That's why you have people who make they make 100,000 and they living paycheck to paycheck. They get a better job making 250, and they still end up living because the more their income raises, the more they raise their expenses. So that's really a bad habit that a lot of people suffer. They think the more money you make,
That's a fact.
now you got to bring in more assets to pay for and more bills.
I mean,
That's-
I say the more you can do for your family.
Well, you can
That's
do
what
it.
I say.
But that
No,
don't mean that you got to
You don't have to
necessarily.
buy a new car. Because trust me, bro, if I'm up, it's gonna be, oh, did you see this Montessori school? Oh, well, now we could go here. We could go on vacation. Like that happens in real families.
Well, yeah, I know that
You know what
happens,
I'm
and
saying?
that's why I'm saying it's a
2400
recipe for disaster. So like when I gotta pay
school for a month. That's not even school or anything like that.
For example, when I got a pay raise working in IT,
Baby was 8 months old. It was no school.
I got an extra 40,000.
The baby was 8 months old. They had just walked out of this is months after
daycare, whatever, school daycare, whatever.
The point.
What kind of daycare is Tyrese's child gonna go to, or private school, or whatever?
Whatever it is, Tyrese. That's what his point is. I'll cover whatever it is, but don't you dare judge and summarily rule to make me pay 10 grand. If we decide as a parent that our child is going to go to this school that costs $15,000 a month for tuition, I'll pay it. But I'm paying it because I decided as the parent to pay it, not because some judge in some court and a bunch of crooked lawyers is making me pay it, especially when their paperwork is telling me I'm supposed to pay this. It's a print. That's all we're saying, Sherm. So I get what you're saying. You got it. So just give the court what you got.
I'm saying your child has to live a certain lifestyle if that's your child, and it comes from you as a public figure. First off, that's well known. You have to put in money to protect your child. Like, where is that child gonna live?
Somebody else explain it to him. Kenny.
All right, let me get a second. I got something.
A lot of people on this panel.
Yeah, let me get in here before we.
I'm just saying, as a man, as far as
all right, go ahead, Hank. I'll go after that.
Is that if you are this certain caliber of a person, your child can live in a certain area, go to certain schools, be around certain people, and money has to be able to afford that. You can't be Tyrese's child going to a public local school with some whatever kind of kids. All of that stuff has to get paid for. So I get it. I don't know what she's doing with her life. I don't know if she's a doctor or accountant or whatever. But it's kind of like I'm looking at that as like a little, drop in the bucket for taking care of a kid that needs to be protected.
$2,500 a month in the state of Georgia is not a drop in the bucket, bro.
$10,000.
No, what I've said is $2,500 a month in child support for a child living in the state of Georgia is more than enough to take care of a child.
8-month-old child, by the way.
Okay, I'm not talking about a typical child again. I'm talking about a child that is with a well-known celebrity figure, not nobody like me and you. That child could only be around certain individuals, certain people, eat certain food, go certain places, and that needs to be accounted for.
That's not true.
All right, cool. I'm sorry. All right, cool.
I can't believe I'm hearing this.
It sound like y'all agree to disagree.